Hello, everyone. What time are we getting started?
Yeah, hi. Good evening. We should be starting in a bit. Just trying to hold on for Kim to come on.
Okay. Where are you based?
I'm based in Manchester.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just 35 miles south of you in Stoke.
Oh, oh, cool, cool, cool.
So you're a photographer or videographer?
Uh, everything. I do photography and I do videography as well.
Okay. Where did you get your American accent from?
I'm Nigerian actually.
What part of Nigeria?
Lagos.
Okay. My
Yeah.
dad and family are from Lagos, Maryland.
Oh, that's
Ah,
nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. All right. Let me just hold on. Hi everyone. If you could just give me a second, let me reach out to Kim.
Are you his assistant or something?
Oh, no, no, no. So I have a community. I mean, I would give like the background once we start. It's called Lights Camera Connect, and I have a group of people, videographers, editors, photographers in the community, right? And I just brought Kim on to just kind of share some nuggets and answer questions around videography, photography to anyone that might have some questions in the community. And he thought to share it out as well. So
It's very
yeah,
good.
yeah. All right. Kim is here. All right. Hi, everyone.
Hello, hello. Apologies for the delay.
Yeah, no, all good, all good. Hi, Kim. Nice
Hello,
to
hello.
have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, your video looks crisp, by the way, as
Thank you.
always.
Thank you very much. 100.
Yeah. All right. So let's kickstart, right? So my name is Yeni Adenuga. I'm from Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria. And I moved to the UK, just a bit of background. I moved to the UK like 5 months ago, right? And I'd been doing videography, photography while I was in Nigeria. And I was a part of a community where we kind of just share tips on lessons, gigs, we could collaborate, things like that. But when I got to the UK, it was a bit hard for me to kind of, you know, and like learn how things are done in the
Yeah.
UK industry, right? So I reached out to a friend of mine who also happens to be a videographer. I'm not sure if he's on the call, Lanre, right? And he was like, we could start a community. Just so we did a video, we put it out, and about 40 people joined us,
Okay.
right? Yeah, hopefully all of them should be on the call today, right? And
Okay.
that's kind of like the background of the community. So it's called Lights Camera Connect, right?
Okay.
And on having conversations in the group, I realized that a lot of people uh, were also finding it hard, the same way I was finding it hard. So pricing, trying to position yourself as a videographer in the UK and just understanding the way the market works here, right? So I happened to stumble upon your video, Kim, and I was like, hey, I could just DM Kim and just ask him if he's up for this. And I DM Kim, and here we are today. Right. So yeah, so thank you so much, Kim, for agreeing to do this. And every other person who has joined, welcome, welcome to the Lights Camera community members. Welcome, welcome, everybody. All right. So today, not to take much of your time, we're just going to be having conversations, just Q and A's around, you know, trying to learn everything about videography as a videographer in the UK, right? So we have some questions that some of the members had sent in across, and I will just be asking Kim that. And if anyone has any other questions that they want to ask live, you can unmute your mic or raise your hand, and you could ask your question. All right. So yeah. So Kim, before we start, let's meet you. Who is Kim? What does Kim do?
Yeah, thank you. So my kind of background is that I started with a goal to do weddings a few years ago. I started about 7 years ago. Um, and then kind of had a hard lesson, I think a lesson we've all gone through, which is just realizing that it's not as easy as you think it will be. Um, so in attempting to go to weddings and it not working out the way I wanted it to in terms of trying to be fully booked all year, I then turned my attention to more commercial work. From there, in the photography space, I then learned videography a few years after that. And then I'd say in 2020, that's when I started to learn um, a lot more about what really makes a videography business work or work for you, I should say. And so kind of since then, I would say things started to kind of work out. And now, alongside what I do now, I like to teach and help and do all those other things.
Nice, nice. Thank you. So you said you've been doing this for 7 years. That's that's a long time.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can just imagine the amount of information, the wealth of information that you've gathered over those 7 years, right? And he's gonna be dishing out those information to us today.
I try.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let me start with the first question, right? So, like I said, right, on the group, I realized that everyone had the same problem, which is pricing,
Uh-huh.
right? It seems there's some sort of stigma that is attached to pricing as a videographer, right? So, let me ask how, for lack of a better word, how do you price as a videographer?
I okay. In my experience, and I'll probably repeat this on the call a lot, I think a lot of these decisions we have to make, we have to start from the end goal and work backwards. And we have to do it with a view that our career is our career and not someone else's career.
Mm,
I say that to say when I started, I would charge low, charge high, and it would change a lot depending on what other people were giving me in terms of the content I was consuming. Things started to work with me when I realized I would charge the least I wanted to charge based on what I imagined it would come out with. So I would say to myself, okay, this person wants a 2 hour portrait shoot. The average rate might be £50 an hour. You would look at the average rate, and then I would say compare your work to the average person's work. I know that we like to say in the creative world, don't compare yourself to others, that kind of thing. I don't really support that whole souled. I think in this world where you're trying to operate with other people and clients, you do need to look at other people and look at what they are doing. But I would say use that in balance with what you want for yourself. So there were parts in my career where other people would charge twice what I was charging. And I would look at it and I would go, I don't need that much. So I'm
mm.
not going to charge that much. And then in the same breath, there'd be people that were charging half. And I'd go, I'm sorry, I'm not doing it for that rate. So I would say that those are the kind of overarching principles I consider. I look at the market and then I decide if that's good enough for me. I think a more important question for me is about how you're going to communicate that to your client, because I think that is the determining factor for whether or not they pay it. Because again, I've had instances where I charged or I quoted £200 for a full wedding and people told me it was too much.
Mm.
And then in the same time, I've made £700 from a 1 hour portrait shoot. And it's really about communicating that value to the client so that they believe that this is worth what they are going to spend.
All right, that's great. Um, so I think uh, sometimes there's a level of experience that kind of plays in, how you go about pricing,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So as someone who's starting out as just a videographer, as an editor, how do you try I mean, I know you can just start out, you probably have to do like some free jobs at some point.
Mhm.
You probably have to, charge way less, but someone who is starting out, how do they break into that point where they get to charge higher for clients?
I so are you saying how do they get to the point where they're charging more than when they started?
No, as they're starting.
Okay.
Yeah. Is there a point where, maybe 6 months into being a videographer, you can start charging, high from your clients?
No, I
Hmm.
don't think there is a timeline that anyone can give you because
Mm,
everyone's working at different rates, not in terms of money rates, but at different speeds.
mm,
Different people are learning at different speeds, and different people are in different economies and different landscapes creatively and just economically in general. So for me, all of these things are best learnt with overarching principles that people can take and apply for themselves. Again, when it comes to pricing and then moving that price, one of the biggest shifts for me came with understanding that at the at a certain point in my career, I was charging or I was looking for the wrong people.
mm,
So I decided, okay, I want to charge more, but the overall consensus from all of the people I tend to, get DMs from is that I'm charging too much or I'm at the top of where they seem to be at. Now, to an extent, some of that may not be completely true because they want to save as much money as possible, but um I think the biggest leap came from a video I watched from Alex Hormozy, where he spoke about the net worth of the client that you're trying to pursue and understanding that if you're trying to charge $500, it looks different to different clients. To someone who's saved $1,000, you are asking for 50% of their net worth.
mm.
But to somebody who is running a business that makes 100K a month, £500 is nothing. 500
Yeah.
pounds is something they can test, they can throw away or whatever. And working with those higher paying clients, in my experience, is way easier.
Mm,
So I would say, in terms of upping that rate, one of the things that's helped me to do that has been changing the type of people I work with in general
yeah. Okay. That makes sense. So, changing your clientele, knowing the right people to reach out to.
and communicating the value to them. So I think in this space, there's conventionally two ways you can communicate it, and that is, or there's two ways that they get value, and that's if you reduce the pain and friction in their life, or you add money or income or benefit to their life.
Mm,
So it's either a positive change or a negative change where you're removing something. And depending on who you're working with, that will change. But that's another thing that you should be wary of. Don't speak to clients about your camera gear and how cool your stuff is if it's not going to benefit them or remove that pain. So when I
mm,
speak, I will highlight to the client that, okay, this is going to save you time. This is going to save you energy and effort. Instead of having to find an editor, a location, a this, a that, I can handle that for you. Or on the other end, in terms of adding benefit, you'd obviously want to speak about how you can increase revenue, increase profit, those kind of things.
mm. That makes a lot of sense. Makes sense. Okay. Um, so let me go to another question here. Because a lot of questions around price, but let's dive a bit. So it says, as a Black creative navigating the UK industry, I sometimes feel unseen. What advice do you have for someone to show up and create opportunities when the doors aren't always open?
I think that's such a big issue and topic,
Yeah.
because this kind of stuff is prevalent almost everywhere. Um, I think the best example I can give is in the watch space. So I create content in the watch space, and that seems to be a predominantly white industry or whatever. And I think it's occurred to me that, okay, being one of the first, it's either going to be me or someone else will do it. So when it comes to breaking into that or breaking into that in that way, one of the things that helps me is going, okay, this is a new thing for this industry to have, and I'm happy to be that. But in terms of the bigger question of how you can deal with that, that's like asking, how do you deal with racism in
Mm,
general? And
yeah,
that's such a big question.
true. Sure. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And and
So,
and and sorry to cut you. For me personally, um, I think it's about picking your battles and understanding, okay, this could be a scenario where it's a numbers game and I just need to keep knocking on doors until another one opens, or it could be about understanding that this isn't a room you even want to be in. If you are constantly fighting to be heard, there is a potential that this is an area or a part of this niche that just doesn't want you, and that's okay if or you have to accept that for now.
hmm, okay. Thank you for that. Thank you so much. Um, Let me ask this other question here. It says, how do you manage the balance with content creators? Some clients are choosing to opt for content creators instead of videographers. So I think this person is trying to, so there's this wave where, um, for example, in Nigeria, right, the weddings, people who are doing weddings, they prefer to use content creators that will just come with their phone and,
Mm,
like a small ring light, and they do the transitions, do everything, right?
yeah.
And they'll rather have that than, pay so much to have a videographer, right? So
Yeah.
how does one balance that whole, scenario?
I'm not sure people will like my answer because I get a lot of hate for this online already, but I think the landscape is changing and you have to change with it. When it comes to social media, because I think even in that wedding scenario, they are thinking about what they are going to post as a couple. It's not
Exactly.
that they want, it's not like they want this video on someone's phone to somehow be framed in their house. This is about them showing the world and things like that. The same applies when it comes to commercial work, where I have experienced 9 times out of 10 that when I'm shooting for a client for their social media content, that when I use a phone, the video does better because it looks more relatable, it looks more authentic. For you as a videographer, I think you have to decide if you're going to pivot or not. AI is doing wonders where people can now type into a computer and get cinematic footage that
Mm,
some of us aren't even capable of shooting. We can either be mad at AI or use it. We can either be angry at AI or figure out how to do it better than our clients and charge them for it because that's where we will provide value. When you, as a videographer, are up against a content creator, I think the winning comes when you let go of the anger and decide, how do I level the playing field? They want that content creator because from what that client wants, the content creator will be better. And that's just the way it is. So, weddings, commercial work, whatever, say to yourself, okay, this content creator um might probably is probably cheaper. If you don't want to compete on price, look at, okay, their footage isn't better, but um if it's going to get them more views, figure out how you can get them more views, maybe on your camera. If it's about being easy to work with, etc., 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 the list goes on. I don't, I personally don't think there's anything we can do about it. It's the same
mm,
thing with in 2020 when these platforms transitioned to video instead of photo, photographers had to adapt, and now photographers have to make video content to promote their photos.
mm.
You have to adapt.
Yeah. I think it's almost like a saying of, if you can't beat them, join them. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think nowadays, right, it's even kind of speaks to like personal branding where, as a videographer, you're creating videos, not just they're not posting the work that you're doing, you're creating content because
Hmm.
essentially you're also a content creator
Hmm.
so you're creating content to push your brand, to push yourself. So yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Um, I have another question here. It says, by the way, if anyone has a question, you can drop it in the chat box, or you can raise your hand when it's time to go live if you want to ask. All right. So this is, what's the best way for videographers and editors to build real connections that lead to paid opportunities? not just likes and follows on social.
Is this okay? This is on social.
Yeah.
Um, I think you have to show people where you provide value and where they have to go to get that value. Um, I'm thinking of an example. Let's think of every online business that offers a free subscription. They will offer it with all of the good stuff behind a paywall. So when it comes to how you want to land clients, you need to, yes, everyone is so great at posting their portfolio work,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't tell the client anything about what it's like to work with you. That doesn't tell the client if you are trustworthy, if you are easy to work with. Um, it doesn't tell them any of the other things they need to know in order to decide that they're going to go from the free subscription to the paid subscription. So you need to put out content that does that. I think that's quite a simple thing for us to be able to do, where we just think about the commonly asked questions that we get from the clients that we have landed in the past.
Okay. That makes sense. Does anyone want to ask any questions before I go on? You can feel free to raise your hand, unmute your mics.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a quick question to Kim. How much outreach do you do?
Not much, not basically none.
Is that because you've built your clientele over the years?
Yes, and because most of my stuff is inbound, so I
In
get
turn-
DMs from clients.
So basically, because you've built a strong social media channels,
Yeah,
now you're reaping the rewards because
yeah,
it's all inbound.
yeah.
Okay.
I'd say I landed one good client from outreach, um, so I could tell that story, but it's not something where I could say I'm an expert in outreach because I haven't
Okay.
done
And then
much of
how
that.
do you, if you get to this really good position that you're in,
Yeah.
how do you vet? Do you vet your clients now?
Yeah, so I have a Calendly link in my bio that asks a bunch of questions, and based on their answers in there, that's how I know if the person is qualified. So I put in the budget, do you have I toyed around with it for a few years where I would put um in my mind it was like, okay, if they put in these answers, I know they're not qualified kind of thing. And what kept happening is people would fill in those answers, and then I realized I had to still do the call, which I knew was going to be a waste of time. So
Mm.
now I've created the questionnaire to, first of all, prepare me for what I need to say on the call, but also I've basically removed the opportunity for someone who's unqualified to be able to answer the question. So I've put, is your budget X, Y, and Z? And let's say I don't want to work with someone under 2K a month. There is no option under 2K a month.
Okay.
Mm.
And you don't get a DM from those clients saying, "Hey, have you got any options around 1,000?"
No, no.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
get DMs. I get DMs from people. I guess yes. So not. I don't get DMs from people who saw the form. I get DMs from people who haven't looked at the form as yet. But for those people, I just say, yeah, uh, minimum price. Or again, going back to one of the previous questions about raising your rates, I've kind of transitioned to a place where I don't work with the kind of businesses everyone works with. So I work with, I would say, boring businesses now.
Boring is where the money is.
Boring is where the money is. So um, for me, I get DMs from artists. I'm starting a clothing brand, that kind of stuff. Those people tend to get the same, I'm not doing that at the moment message. And then the people who usually fill out the form are the ones where it's like, I'm a dentist, or I make the plastic tubing that goes into houses or whatever. That's where the
Hmm.
good stuff happens for me.
Okay. Thanks for answering the questions.
No worries. Thank you.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback what Zach asked, right? So for someone who is, I mean, you've built, your social media, you like you said, you mostly get your clients through inbounds, right? People DM you, right? So someone who is starting out, how, I don't know if you have, any tips for someone who is starting out, how can they um, get better at outreaches, even if it's just, like how do they reach out to agencies,
Mm.
things like that? Yeah.
So again, I would start with the end goal and work backwards. First, ask yourself, who do I want to work with? And that will be based on what you want personally. So I've spoken on this before, but I used to want to be like a super like out there videographer. I wanted to work with artists. I wanted to travel. I wanted to do cool stuff. I don't really want that anymore. I want to be able to replicate what I'm doing, work with 2 or 3 clients a month, and I want consistency so that I can predict my income. Those are the main things I'm focusing on. So I have to ask myself, is a wedding bride going to do that for me? No. Is a artist, a music artist going to do that for me? No, etc., etc. So I first think about that and know that, okay, I'm going to reach out to a specific type of business. And one of the reasons that works really well is that you come to understand what that business owner faces challenge wise the most. You get to understand their pain points. And then when you outreach, you understand what you need to say. There's no point going to them and talking about how sick the footage is going to look if that business owner cares about making money and they don't have this ego of wanting to look cool in front of their friends.
Hmm.
So the one big success I had with outreach, I tell you, it was done in a passionate way, and that's why I think it worked. I think when we try and do the mass outreach, because I'm sure many of us have attempted that, of like using a bot or scraping emails and all this other stuff, those things tend to have a low success rate in my experience. This outreach that worked for me, I had consumed this person's content. It was a basketball coach. Now, I love basketball, so when he comes up, I would watch his stuff. And I was like, he's very knowledgeable, but his content is horrible in the sense he's packaging it horribly. The footage is blurry, the audio is peaking, it's horrible, the editing is poor, all of it. So I messaged him and I voice noted him and I told him all of it. I said, I love your content, but it's not great. And I think you're missing out because you're putting out all this stuff, but here are a bunch of statistics that show when you don't have subtitles, you're losing out on like 80% of your reach. Um, when the audio is bad, you make people not want to watch the video. And if they don't watch the video, it won't be sent to more people. Um, I think that you know this, but the way this has been edited, it cuts off right before you get to the good part, whatever. So I told him all of this, and he was like, all right. I mean, so in terms of that, I would say it's not to go and insult people in your outreach, but it's to
Mhm.
say, here is what I think you're struggling with, and here is how I can provide value with that. Here is why I am special. Here is why, if you respond to what I've just said, your life will change for the better. Um, so another thing to consider is to not speak about yourself, but to speak about them. So again, one of the things I would have done when I was attempting outreach years ago is talk about I I'm a videographer. I did this for 7 years. I am really great at this, this, and this. I this. But you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot if you speak about all of that stuff and they don't care about it. And most of them don't care about it. Let's be
Hmm.
real. But if you come in and you say, hey, I know that you sell lotion, you've got this new lotion remedy, and you're not really speaking about why this lotion is special. I think you're missing out on your clients who suffer with eczema. Did you know that this, and this is what eczema sufferers are saying they want to see before they purchase a product? I think that's how you can put that in videos. We could do reviews, da 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 da. So I would say with outreach, think about the person you're reaching out to instead of yourself, and think about their pain points and how your videos will help them with that.
Hmm. That makes sense. So essentially being a problem-solving videographer,
Yeah,
right? Yeah. So not just the videographer that, can make cool edits and cool
yeah.
transitions. Like people want to see results from the video that they are gonna get, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that. So, I have another question here. Okay, wait. Before I ask this, let me ask this one in my mind, right? So, in terms of building a personal brand, right, as a videographer, right? So it's something you do on social, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you create content, jump on trends to kind of just push, different videography content and the likes, right? So, how important is it for as a creative, right? How important is it to start, building your personal brand on social media?
Very important. Um, Depending on who you are reaching out to. I think one issue we have is that we think because most of the content we are consuming is on social media, that is where everybody is, and that's not the truth.
Hmm.
If we're talking about doing videography for your client's social media, then yes, I would say building a personal brand, very, very important because it proves that you can do it for yourself. But I've had clients where they paid me a lot of money to film staff training videos. You don't need a personal brand to prove that you can do that. I've been paid to photograph a professor for a university newspaper. That was another good budget shoot. And although I'm sure my personal brand helped me to get it, it was definitely not a requirement. What I needed to prove is that I was good at photography and that I could solve that problem. So I would say, yes, it is very important if your clientele needs your videos for social media content because it proves that you understand viewer retention, good hooks, good editing, calls to action, etc., etc. But if you know that you're kind of ready to work with a bit more boring clients or something like that, then I would say no, it's not. I think it's important across the board because you're competing with other people who will likely have one. But intrinsically, I would say it depends on what you're going for.
Hmm. Okay, thank you. Um, so the next question I wanted to ask, it says here, how important is creative collaboration in growing your visibility or network, and how do you approach it strategically?
I think it's important only, okay, in my experience, the collaborative part works when you are collaborating with other, I don't know how I would describe it, but I've not had great things come from collaborating with other videographers.
Hmm.
As sad as it is, those are your competitors. But sorry, someone's mic isn't off or whatever. Um, so I would say, how would I put it? Collaborating in terms of creating work and building connections, I think is always beneficial in some way, big or small. But and that's great. Building connections with other videographers is great because if they cannot do a job, they can send one to you and vice versa. But outside of that, I think the best collaborations happen with people next to you in terms of what they do. So collaborating with audio guys, photographers, editors, because when that editor gets a job and the client loses a video guy, you can fit that slot. When the photographer, their client needs a video person, you can fill that slot. So that's been my experience where I've had collaborations come in the best way from agency owners who they've gone, found the client, found the brand, found everything else, and they just need another video guy. So in collaborating with them, that's helped me get more work. But that's just been my experience.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah. Even
Um,
when it comes
so,
to building portfolio work, I haven't seen much need to collaborate with other videographers because
mm,
when we're trying to build a portfolio, let's say we're trying to shoot something cool as a passion project, I need it for my work. So getting another video person in isn't going to help. I need to
mm,
collaborate with models, location owners,
mm,
photographers, editors, lighting guys, sound engineers, that kind of stuff.
mm, makes sense. Have you ever done film? Like, uh, so maybe a short film or something?
Um, nah, I wouldn't say so. I attempted one for a TikTok competition, but
Mm,
yeah, no, not serious short films, no.
no. Okay. Okay. That's good. Um, I wanted to ask a question. I skipped my mind. Okay, let me just ask here. So, what should a creative's portfolio communicate in 2025? And how do we keep our work fresh in a fast-changing digital space? Because I mean, like you mentioned, right, there's AI this, there's AI that,
Yeah.
so how does one kind of stay afloat, with everything that's changing really fast?
Okay, let me get the first part of the question again.
So what should a creative's portfolio, so videographer, portfolio communicate in 2025? And how do we keep our work fresh in a fast-changing digital space?
Okay. I think the portfolio should communicate that you are good with your camera and that you understand your client's client. So again, let's say I'm selling uh, phone tripods or phone stands. Um, I want my video work to communicate that I understand the pain points your customer has, and therefore I'll be able to film whatever is needed for you, client, to get sales or to get customers for your phone stand. Um, I do think that portfolio work can only sell you or get you so far, and that one of the most neglected parts of all of this is outside of the portfolio because you communicate there's only so much you can communicate in your actual portfolio. So a lot has to be done on your personal brand on social media or in your emails or on the calls that you have where you're able to say, okay, phone stand person, you've put in the contact form here that this is what you sell. So I think we're going to do a video in which we review this and we show all of the key features, and we might bring in some case studies of how people were struggling without these phone stands until you came along. That's how we want to position it. But I think the worst thing you can do is have just a portfolio where you make this product look really cool and you have nothing else.
Mm, okay. All
And
right,
then the
that
second part,
yeah. So the second part says, how do we keep our work fresh in a fast-changing digital space? So I think the person is kind of asking how do they leverage all the things that are coming out now with AI and all that? How do they leverage that to kind of stay ahead of the game? Yeah.
I think you leverage it the same way you leveraged your camera in the first place. So I think we are all, as videographers, we can all remember the trends that we've joined along the way. So let's say some of us would have started as photographers. There would have been a time where everyone had a crystal ball and we were all shooting with crystal balls. Then there would have been a time where everyone was editing in teal and orange for some reason.
Mm,
Then there would have been an era where, um, you know, there's just so many little trends and little adjustments to the space that we've all been privy to because we're in it. I think we just have to stay in it, where it's like, okay, AI is a thing, so you need to go and learn AI and how you can add it to your stuff. Like off top of my head, I would say because the clients I work with tend not to need stuff that's just super current all the time. This is another reason I don't work with artists and clothing brands and things like that. Um, you could say, okay, AI is a thing now. One of the things that I cannot do is we cannot go to this Italian vineyard for this shoot. So maybe there's a way that we shoot in a park and then we use AI to incorporate a vineyard for this wine campaign we are shooting. That kind of thing, where you find a way to say everyone else in this local area only has access to this park, but we're going to use AI to transcend the park. And that's just off the top of my head. I've even seen people I know where they do UGC for their clients, and from an image of somebody holding their product, they've been able to use AI to turn an image into a full video where they've given the AI some kind of script
Yeah.
and it looks like an influencer is holding the product and talking about it. So there may not be a way for you to do better than the next videographer, but for somebody who is a copywriter, they've used AI to save a bunch of money getting a videographer in. So by them saving that energy, time, money, they can now reach out to more people. So we might do the same thing. Like I know that I've used AI for subtitles. I love it. That saves me so much time. So now I can comfortably charge less than I used to because instead of taking an hour to add subtitles to a 30-minute vlog, it takes me 5 minutes. So I don't need to charge them as much for it anymore. And that makes me better than the next guy, for example. I say, for example, because I don't recommend always trying to be cheap. I think it's a race
Mhm.
to the bottom. But yeah,
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, so I know someone asked, I mean, you already kind of answered this. Person said, how have you used AI to help and assist your workflow and processes?
yeah, I don't use it as much. I don't really use it at all except for subtitles.
Mm,
Um, yeah, I don't use it anywhere except for
yeah.
subtitles, really.
Yeah, same here. I don't think I have, yeah, just subtitle. Maybe if I'm doing a video and I need a voiceover, yeah, those are the kind
Mm,
of things that I use it for.
mm,
Yeah. Okay, so yes, I remember the question I wanted to ask. So, right now, right, there's this whole saga of, offers, if you're doing this, make sure you have an offer. If you're doing this, make sure you have extra offers. So
mm.
as a creative, right, as a videographer, photographer, how, because I know most people struggle with this. I struggle with it, right? How do
Yeah.
I how do I phrase this now? So create offers apart from like, okay, I'm taking pictures for my client or I'm doing a video for a client. What else can I do as a creative, as a photographer, as a videographer to make more money that is still within that space? I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
So are you saying like discounts in terms of offers, or do
No,
you
no, no.
mean offers in terms of I will do X for you for this or whatever?
Yeah, so and I mean, so offers in terms of like, so for example, right? I've been doing videography for 5 years, right?
Hmm.
And I have a lot of knowledge about it. I could create an offer and say, hey, I'm going to be teaching 5 people uh, basic video editing skills. That
Okay.
kind of, yeah, that kind of offer. Say, or hey, content creators, I have an offer for you guys. I'm trying to, if you want to learn content creation, how to, put yourself out there as a brand, those
Yeah.
kind of things, right? Yeah. So how does one position themselves? How do you, as a photographer, as a creative, how do you say, oh, what kind of offer do I offer to people?
So first of all, I would recommend um reading a book called $100 million offers from Alex Hermosi. I'm sure we've all probably come across Alex's content at some point.
Yeah.
I've actually read the book and it was 100% worth it. You could probably get it for free on Audible,
Mm.
and just listen to it at 2 times speed. But you can listen to it at 1 time speed. He speaks very quickly, so it's very good. He helped me to see that there is no hack or trick to it. You just have to know your client inside and out, and then you'll be able to know exactly what they want. I'll give the best example I think I could give is I'm sure we've all been sold a videographer's course at some point.
Yeah.
Think about the moment you decided you were going to buy it and apply that knowledge to who you're trying to prospect or who you're trying to reach out to. I'll do it myself now on the call. I was sold on the fact that um, the person knew my story inside and out, even though we hadn't met. So when I was doing weddings at the time, he was selling me a wedding photography course. He was like, I'm sure that you reach out to clients with a price and they just don't respond. Oh, yeah, they don't respond. I'm sure that when you send them a price, they try and haggle the price down, don't they? Yeah, they do. I'm sure that when you shoot the wedding, you're then like, oh, I've got so many photos to edit. Yeah, that's right. I'm sure that and the list goes on. At that point, I am in no doubt that he'll be able to teach me what I need to know. Because if he knows my career and trajectory inside and out, and now claims that he can get me to the next level, I have no reason to doubt him whatsoever. So the same applies with us and our clients, where again, you need to know their pain points. You need to know what is driving them. You need to know what will remove friction or add value to their lives and their businesses. So, one example I could give is, ooh, let's see. Okay, I used to work a lot with influencers, and she was a big influencer, like 1 million followers, and I was like, I've got this offer. Let me run it by you. And I said to her, okay, we'll do a full day shoot because I'm thinking of myself. I'm thinking, okay, I'd want to get as much done in a day as possible. Batch content create easy. So I'm thinking full day. I'm going to bring my camera and, it'll be just like the shoots we've done in the past where it looks super cinematic and perfect. Boom, boom, boom. Then they'll have enough content to post for like 3 months.
Mhm.
Again, because for me, having content to post for 3 months sounds like a dream. She said, Kim, this ain't going to work. I was like, what? She said, first of all, no influencer is ever going to shoot with you all day long.
Mhm.
They're busy. They get tired. A lot of these girls, fashion, they don't want to shoot all day. So that's wrong. Kim, the photos you take are breathtaking, but every time I post them, they're the worst engaged posts I have. Your stuff, I get like 5,000 likes, but when I take selfies, I get 30,000 likes. My audience is girls that want to be like me, an influencer. Your high fashion luxury stuff looks unattainable, so it gets less engagement. So actually, you should do what this girl does and offer iPhone in addition to your camera work. What was the other thing I'd said? Oh, a month in advance. A lot of these influencers have to follow trends.
Yeah,
Trends come and go in a day or two.
exactly.
So there's no part, as much as it sounds good, every influencer knows they cannot shoot for a day and have 3 months worth of content. So they won't believe you, they won't trust that this is going to work.
Mm.
That whole offer I had that took me days to come up with, useless. Didn't work. And I'm glad that I called her and she was able to tell me. So that proved to me in that moment that I didn't know my client. I didn't know the avatar or the person that I wanted to work with. So you need to get to a place where you know their pain points. So from that discussion alone, I know that a better offer would have been 2 hour shoots once a week, and it will come with iPhone content. Another story I tell is a restaurant one where a videographer is offering free work um to promo restaurants on this like popular strip, and none of the owners are saying yes. And it's like I'm giving them free promo. Why would they not want free promo? Um, until he asked one of them, and they said, "We don't need promo. We need staff.
Hmm.
We live on a busy strip. We get clients. We have too many clients. We need staff." And it's without asking these questions,
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
we're not gonna know what words we need to use, what triggers them to go, "Oh, this person gets it." If I pay them and they come with that camera, the videos we make are gonna fix my problems. That's what you need.
Ah, sound like a sermon right there. That was really good. They were really, really good. I
Thank you.
think a question jumped in as you were talking concerning the iPhone contents, right? So,
Okay.
like, I know you've been dragged online
Yeah.
for yeah. So, and to be honest, I think we're kind of getting to that point where people just want to see your iPhone videos. They're, like you mentioned, if you see a well shot cinematic video, you're already thinking, oh, this must be an ad. So
Mm.
you just scroll, right? So can you just, just to sanitize the people here, just to let them know that this is what's happening, right? In terms of like social media content, these are the kind of content that people want to see, especially with their phones, right? Shooting
Mm.
with phones, yeah. So just, speak about that.
Okay. So the first and main confusion I think people have when they try and drag me is they conflate the work of a videographer with what a videographer needs to do to help a client on social media.
Mm,
So when I say iPhone does better, it's for when a company that sells phone cases, I'm gonna shoot a video using a phone to promote their phone cases on social media. When that phone case brand, when their clients go to their website, that's where I would say the rules change. And even then, there are businesses who would still use UGC testimonials and things like that are
yeah,
shot on a phone. But I'll let's ignore that. So that's the first thing to get out of the way. I'm not saying that people should not use their cameras for landing pages, VSLs, um, you know, other marketing materials on websites or whatever, but it's just for social media. I think that is the main thing. In terms of social media growth for the clients you are shooting for, if you don't believe me, test it yourself. I think that's the best thing to say to these kind of things. But in my experience, 90% of the time, the iPhone wins. Even when I'm shooting luxury properties,
mm,
even when I'm shooting, um, you know, ugh, pretty much everything I've ever done when it comes to client work and what they post on social media.
yeah,
Um, the iPhone outperforms the camera because the camera looks like an ad. The iPhone looks relatable. Um, and when it comes to what the person scrolling through the feed and finding that video is thinking, whether we like it or not, subconsciously, when the stuff looks professional, we scroll past it. So, um, wherever you can, if you are in charge of growing that social media page, use your iPhone, see how good it does, and then pivot and test from there.
yeah,
And with our videography knowledge, we're gonna do the best iPhone videos anyone could do. So we
exactly,
still get to be better than everyone else like we want to be,
exactly,
but
exactly.
we're doing it in a way that's efficient. And if the views are better and the engagement's better, that's better for the client, which means they keep you. It means they pay you more. It means everyone's happy. So yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, with the iPhones we have now, you can shoot blog with your iPhone. Yeah, and it's pretty great. Because
Mm.
I mean, even on social media, I've seen videos where they say, "Oh, how to shoot cinematic content with an iPhone," and the video has millions of views, right? Yeah,
And the other thing is that I'm not saying 100% should be shot on the phone. I'm saying a large part of it should be.
should be. Yeah,
If you are shooting for an entrepreneur that is selling a course, there may be moments where you want to showcase their financial and social proof. And so shooting on a camera says this coach has money. If the coach has money, it's because they do good things. They do good things means they could do good things for me. I trust this coach a little bit more. But you should be striving to find a balance that works for your page. So for
true.
me, I have videos that I will shoot on a camera if I see fit for that.
Mm,
And so that's another thing to heed when I say these words. As I said, with pricing, with the clients you find, with the way you outreach, you need to do what works for you, and you won't find it in analysis paralysis where you're just consuming loads of content about how
mm.
to do stuff and you're not actually doing
Actually,
it.
yeah,
You're not gonna learn half as much about how to, I don't know, speak to a client on a call until you're actually getting these calls and you're messing up. And you need to mess up to get better.
sure, true,
Yeah,
sure.
bit too passionate there. Thought we calmed down.
No, no, no. This is go all out, man. Go all out. Um, so Zach has a question. He said, Kim, do you shoot vertical and horizontal content at the same time?
Okay. Um, Only if I know 100% the client will use it for YouTube or a landing page where there's the potential that they would use the footage for a desktop website. Other than that, no.
Mm. Wow. Great, great. Let me see. I don't think we have any other questions. Does anyone have a question? Please feel free to unmute your mics. All right, someone has a question. Alicia, she says, I've realized I might be in the wrong industry. I want to be on FitCon film sets, but I've been working in photography and video making with a hope it will lead to fiction as I was struggling to get work. How do I use this skill to transition to fiction filmmaking?
I think again, starting with the end in mind, what does she actually want to achieve? Does she want to be a producer, director, DOP,
Director.
director? Okay. Okay, first caveat, I'm not a director, so I cannot speak from an expert level. But I would say, okay, okay, I've made short films as a director. Okay, then it seems like you need to work on how you're getting your work in front of people that need to see it, like producers. Wait, director, yeah, a producer hires a director, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
No- Well, so
A,
I
a
So,
mean, it could,
producer,
so yeah, you
I,
can either approach producers yourself
yeah.
and then they hire you,
mm,
or producer need directors, or usually it's writers and actors that need directors for their short films or plays.
mm. So I think one of the principles I'd consider is the grass is always greener where you are watering it. I think you should set out a plan, and then with a plan, you will know what is not working based on how that funnel works. So, for example, if I'm trying to sell earphones, that's the next object on this desk. um, I may decide that my funnel ends with the cart on my website, and that in order for them to get there, they need to hit the landing page. In order for them to hit the landing page, they need to click the link in my bio. In order for them to see the bio, they need to see my content and want to click the bio. And then in order to do that, they need to see the content in the first place. So at every stage, if I stick to this plan, Where the plan fails, I'm able to see where the break is or the leak is, shall we say. If I was you, I would start taking my work because I have to speak from a place of not knowing what your work looks like. So I would set out a plan and then work down the plan to know, okay, let's say your plan is you want to get into this fiction film. In order to do that, a producer needs to hire you. In order to do that, you need to send your work to a bunch of producers. In order to do that, you need to build a body of work. You've built the body of work, and now I don't know, but let's say you've shown it to a few producers and the answer has always been no. You might want to go, okay, next time I get a no, I'm going to force them to tell me why. And they might say, your work's garbage. And then that's for you to go back to creating better films. They might go, your work's fantastic, but
Mhm.
in this fiction world, we really require more 3D renders. We really require more visual effects. You might look at your portfolio and go, I've got no visual effects in my stuff. And then you need to go and make more films that have that. So I would say it sounds super generic, but I would say you need to set out a plan and stick to that plan. Don't constantly pivot and start again because I do that or I've done that and it doesn't really work for me when I'm trying to fix what's wrong because I'm doing so many things at once. So that's the advice I would give based on knowing very little about your skill.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
No worries.
Yeah, thank you. Someone has their hand up. Please, I'm gonna unmute your mic. You can speak.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for everything you've said.
Thank you.
So I'm 17 and I'm currently into videography. I've done a few, but I'm rarely getting clients because people don't trust me as a 17-year-old to do my videography. So what do I do and how do I go about like making my clients to entrust me more?
Has anyone actually said they don't trust you?
Not specifically, but they're like, oh, like they're always beating around the bush, basically.
I would say actually similar to stuff I've said today, act on real metrics and results instead of the assumption
Mm-hmm.
because it could be that not that they don't trust you, but for me, I've had multiple under 18s try and work for me as, let's say, a video editor. And my hesitation is not that I trust their abilities, but that I don't know legally how I can employ someone who's under 18. I don't know the laws and I don't have time to research the laws. So, because I'm thinking now on my watch page, I had a 15-year-old DM me loads of times and I'm sure his work was good, but I was never going to consider him because I don't know what the legal ramifications are for hiring an under 18.
Mm,
So it might be as a shot in the dark that you want to go and research what that takes and maybe you want to present that to people when you try and work with them. Because I know
mm-hmm.
if that 15-year-old came to me today and said, in order to hire me and be protected legally, all you need to do is this, 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 and this, I might have done it. So I'm hesitant to, again, I don't know anything about you, but the whole they don't trust me thing, I think wouldn't make sense unless you've given them a reason to not trust you. I
Mm,
think I think what is more likely is that they don't know how to legally work with you.
right. Thank you.
And there'll be things that they have to go away and research that they don't want to or don't have the time to. Because
Right.
there's plenty of other over 18s who are already doing what you're doing.
Mm, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
if I was to add something to what you said, so another thing I think you can do is what does your portfolio look like, right? this might sound like like a far reach, but you might have to do some free jobs as well. Just take on passion projects, do things that people would love to see, that people who you would want to hire you, like things that they would want to see. So kind of curate those things, add them to your portfolio, so you can have your defense when they, like you said, when they are beating around the bush. You can have your defense to say, hey, I know I'm young, but look what I've done. I've done this, I've done this, I've done that, and that kind of helps to helps them make decisions, right? So yeah,
Mm,
so just build your portfolio to the kind of things that you want your clients to see.
yeah,
Yeah,
thank
Yeah,
you very much.
yeah.
no worries.
All right. Wow, we're so past time. All right, let's take this.
I just hope I've not even I don't even know if I've recorded the call or not.
Oh, I think I'm recording. Yeah, I'm recording. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
So this person says, as a photographer and videographer, what scale do you use to measure your work as excellent or basic?
Ah, okay.
Hmm,
Um, I compare myself to others. Again, I don't think there's an easy way around it.
hmm,
And I don't believe that you should shut your eyes off to what everyone else is doing. I think you need to ask questions and be humble enough to accept whatever the answers are. So when you go to, or when you next connect with a photographer or a videographer who, makes a certain amount of money that they claim to make, use that as a measuring stick. If you look at their work, let's say you want to charge £500 a day and they claim to charge £500 a day, you look at their work and say, okay, is it better than mine or not? And if it's not, then you might have issues with other things you're doing that's stopping you from charging that much.
hmm,
And if it's not as good, or if it is better, you know, I need to make my work as good as that. I think for me, Peter McKinnon was my measuring stick, where when I was starting in photography, um, I would literally practice and practice and practice and say, okay, my work is day 27. My work still doesn't look like Peter's. Tomorrow's day 28. We're back at it. Um, and it's not about copying or stealing or whatever, but we have eyes and we know what looks like what. So I was able to go, okay, the colors on this look really good, but for some reason my stuff doesn't look as blurry background and his stuff. So I'm straight on Google. Why are my photos not blurry? I'm straight on YouTube. Why are my photos not blurry? And then on day 28, we've now got the blur, we've got the colors. Time for the next stage. Um, and then you do the same thing with your pricing, where you say, okay, this person's work is better or worse. They're charging X or Y. So I'm going to do according. And it helps the more data you have, where you're able to ask as many freelancers or as many people that do what you do, um, to figure that out. Because it's the same thing people do in the 9 to 5. They look at what the market is
yeah.
and they go to their job interview and say, okay, you're offering me 30K. Everyone else in my role is making 35. Up the
Up it
budget.
up. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. So I don't know if there's any other question in the chat, but I have two questions. Those are my last two questions, and then if anyone doesn't have, we can, can call it a day. So, second to the last question. LinkedIn. Are you on LinkedIn?
I am on LinkedIn. We all should be on LinkedIn.
Yes. So I think a lot of people don't understand the power behind LinkedIn. I feel like there's a lot of potential as a videographer. Like those are where the businesses that you're looking for, the clients, because most people think most people are on just Instagram,
Mm.
TikTok, then they just forget about LinkedIn. So yeah, so just tell us, how important is it to have a LinkedIn profile?
Again, it depends on what you're going for. Most people are on Instagram and TikTok, but they might not be the people you want to work with. So it doesn't matter where most people are. Again, as Zach mentioned, the boring is where the money is, in my experience. So the clients that paid me the most were either people that had already made loads of money, so were happy to spend it on their personal brand. Again, this personal brand didn't involve filming music videos and artistic stuff. It was about
Mhm.
talking about the boring ways they built their businesses, or it was the boring business itself, where we're a chocolate bar manufacturing company and we need you to showcase our factory quality assurances so that we can land more chocolate customers, or um just boring stuff.
Mm.
I'm a solicitor, and I need to make content to land more clients. So now you're making videos where you're showcasing the solicitor's expertise, um so that they can get clients. So when it comes to all of that stuff, remind me of the question.
Like, how important is it
Oh
to
yeah,
have,
LinkedIn.
yeah.
So if you want to shoot music videos and stuff for clothing brands, I was about to say if you want to shoot that, then you maybe shouldn't be on LinkedIn. But even then, I
Mm.
would say the most serious artists and the most serious clothing brand owners are
Yeah.
probably on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
So I would say that LinkedIn is the kind of place for me where I get, let's say, I'd say a month, I get about 20 DMs, let's say 10 to 20 DMs, completely inbound. On LinkedIn, I get like one every 2 months. But in a year, what's 12 times 20? 480. Is it? No.
440.
240, sorry.
Yeah.
So 240 DMs on Instagram versus, let's say, 5 DMs on LinkedIn. Those 5 DMs usually amounts to the same amount of money, if not more.
Mm.
Because LinkedIn is a place where people are ready for business, so they don't DM unless they're serious. And it's a place where I would say serious business owners are, so they're making good money. And going back to the net worth thing, Instagram is where everybody's trying to make it, everybody's starting something. But I'd say LinkedIn is the place where people who have already built the thing, that's where they're hanging out.
Mm. Yeah. Makes
So
sense.
yeah,
Makes sense.
I'd say get on LinkedIn 100%. Um, and I've found that in terms of how I create content on LinkedIn, um, what is incredible about LinkedIn is I don't try. I'll literally post 3 days in a week and then I won't post for 2 months and I still get work from there.
Mm.
So there's, I'd say, a lower barrier to entry because so many of us are not on it.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true. Thank you for that. So my final question is, so I'm trying to see how I'm gonna ask this. Let me just, how do I make 10K as a videographer?
Yeah. So start again. I'm gonna sound like I'm being silly, but
Yeah.
start from your end goal and work backwards. If you want to do model headshots, right, where you work in the same studio every day and you're just clicking and clicking, I guess videographers. So let's pretend what's a boring thing in videography. Um, product. Let's say you want to be a product videographer, where you're in your home studio, you get sent products, and you just film those products, send it back to the brand. You might want to do that where you make £200 a shoot, and in order to make 10K a month, you need to book 50 shoots a month. And if that's what you want, then do that. But if you want the other end, like me, where you want to work with like 2 or 3 people max, then you know that you need to be selling something that's 3K or more. And it probably needs to be a long-term thing that this person needs for a long time.
Mm.
So that 10K a month looks very different for each and every one of us. And I think you just have to start with, okay, 10K a month. To make that 10K, I need this many clients. To get these clients, I need to show them this work. To show this work, I need to make this. And to make this, I need these tools. And then when you look at it that way, it's a lot easier to structure what your plan is. So I can randomly figure it out now where I'm like, okay, um, I want to. Okay, let's say I'm looking at my watches, right? I want to work for, I want to shoot product videos or and photos for watch brands. You need to understand your industry. I understand the watch industry, so I know that when it comes to video, um, watch brands do need the luxury look to go on their websites. And at the moment, because it's still kind of behind everyone else, a lot of watch brands do want the polished stuff. So I would say, okay, I think I could get a watch brand to pay me £500 a month
Hmm.
for, you know, a package where I give them, I don't know, 10 videos a month and send it off. They send me the watch, I shoot it here, or I get a model around the corner, shoot it and send it back. Boom. Now that I've got that in mind, I know everything I need to do backwards and forwards to achieve that. But I think it does start with knowing your industry, whatever that industry is.
Hmm.
It's about knowing that, let's say for me, if I want to do portfolios for portraits, let's say family portraits, you know that yes, you could charge one family $10,000 for a family portrait shoot because you can find anyone to pay anything, but it's not likely. So if you know the family portrait industry inside and out, you'll know whatever the figure is and you'll know how many people you need in order to do that.
Hmm. Yes, that's great. Like some of it simple but effective. Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah,
again as well, one of the biggest parts is if you understand your industry, you'll understand where the big budget is.
yeah.
If you're trying to go down the low frequency but
Mm-hmm.
high or low volume but high net worth kind of thing, that's very important. So like let's say you're in the property industry. If you want to work with, let's say you're in a poorer area and you want to help a lettings agent get more, sales done on homes, if you know that you're charging them $100 per home because it's small and that's all they're willing to pay, then you know you need to sell quite a lot in order to make that 10K. But in the same property niche, you might be able to go to a person that hasn't got great content, but you know that they're selling mansions. So you know that if they make 1% off of $1 million purchase, they're making $10,000. And then you can say to them, look, at no risk to you, I'll come and film. And if you're able to land a sale through my video work, just give me half. Just give me half.
Hmm.
Because you wouldn't have been able to make that 10 without me. So I
Yeah,
just want half. At that point, charging 5K sounds like a discount.
exactly. Exactly. True.
So understand your niche, understand your customer, and you'll go far.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, that was very insightful. Understand your industry, understand your niche. Yeah. So that's great. I don't think anyone has any other questions in the comments. Yeah, and we kind of, I mean, it was supposed to be a 1 hour call. We're way past 1 hour now.
All good.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so thank you so much, Kim. This has been really, really amazing. I mean, I've been here jotting a lot of things down, just from the wealth of knowledge that you've shared today. Yeah. Before we go, any final thoughts? Final nugget you want to drop?
Um, I think yeah, the final nugget is that principles, in my opinion, are more important than rules. And so we will save a lot of time if we accept that for most of these things, it will be hard. I think people that have said work smart, not hard,
Hmm.
I think that advice applies in a very specific way. I think a lot of the time, those people are operating on different levels to us. I think that when you decide you're going to achieve some kind of goal, I think a lot of us waste time trying to find the shortcuts. And we only start to move forward when we accept that there isn't a shortcut. And then that makes us get started. And then once we've started, we're able to see the pitfalls, learn from them, pivot, and keep moving. So I think the biggest thing to take away is when somebody is giving content and they're saying, in the beginning of their video, they're like, this is how you make 10K a month as a videographer. I scroll past those
Hmm.
because there's no way someone could give me advice on how I'm going to make 10K without knowing anything about me.
Sure.
Unless they're about to say, here are the principles, I don't really ever believe what they're saying because they'll go, this is how you make 10K a month as a videographer. You go to a restaurant and then you're this and you're that. And it's like,
Hmm.
okay, if I don't want to shoot restaurants, now what? So I would say, okay, think about the principles. I gravitate to those people, and those people have helped me more than the people who have said, this is this is the new trick on
Hmm.
how to make 10K a month. I've been trying out this viral idea on how to get, nah, doesn't work. For us doing videography, a lot of us have probably tried other businesses as well, and we can agree on the fact that this is the thing we're on because those other things didn't work. And I'm pretty sure those other things were marketed to us as hacks or the new thing. This month, everyone's getting rich with drop shipping.
Hmm.
Everyone's doing Amazon FBA. This month, everyone's doing this, doing that. Da, 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 da. For the people who made Amazon FBA work, it's because they decided this is what I'm doing and I'm gonna do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, and I think for the people who are saying Amazon FBA is a scam, they're the ones that tried it because it was some little hack that was trending. They didn't do it properly, and now they believe it's a hack. There are people who make money as stockbrokers, but I'm sure we know a lot of people who say anyone who does stock trading is a scammer. The water is green where you water it.
True. True. Very, very true. All right. Thank you so much, Kim. I hope every single person here, you've taken notes, you've digested all the nuggets that Kim has given us, right? Yeah. So you can follow Kim. Please in the comment section just say thank you, Kim. Everyone on the comments just bombard Kim with all the love. Tell them thank you. Right. You can follow Kim at Kimagination, right? Is there an underscore there? Yep.
Yes, at the end.
At the
So
end,
I
yeah.
will let me type
Thank
it
you,
in the
Kim.
chat. Thank you. Thank you. I'll put my link in here in the chat, and then you guys can just click the link and follow.
Yeah. Please
Um,
follow Kim. I enjoy his content a lot, and he drops, some free nuggets here and there on
yes.
social media. Yeah, so thank you so much, Kim. Um,
Thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Kim
all
is a
right.
leader in this generation. Love that. Love that. Thank you.
All right. I mean, I hope we get to do this some other time. Maybe it could probably be a physical thing where we just, have a
I'm
physical gathering. Yeah. But yeah, thank you so
I'm down for that.
much.
I'm down
Yeah,
for that.
that's cool. That's cool. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you. I appreciate
everyone.
it.
Have
I'll
a
see you around.
great evening. All right. Bye-bye. Take
See
care.
ya.